Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to hit the intro and let's get started.
Rolling down the boulevard in the speedable Corvette, like a tail on a tornado ring to promise soaked in sweat. One hand on the glass pipe, the other on the wheel. Devil riding shotgun, singing, boy, let's make a deal.
This is Groundless, a Justified podcast. This is a podcast where we watch every episode of Justified and then come on here and talk about it. I'm Chris. That man is Randy.
Greetings.
Greetings indeed. We're here to discuss Season 5, Episode 3 of Justified, already on to Episode 3, an episode called Good Intentions. Now, this episode originally aired January 21st, 2014. And our synopsis, if I can bring it up here. Raylan is threatened by a mystery man at Charles Monroe's mansion. Boyd faces a surprise temptation while trying to figure out who stole his shipment. And cousin Daryl encourages Dewey to stand up to Boyd. And I think that's about right. I think that they missed the Paxton wants Boyd dead storyline. That's an important one. And Boyd needing to find cousin Johnny is in there too. But again, an episode where they try and do a little bit more than they need to. It's not quite as jam-packed with plot lines as our last episode, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So before we get to the episode basics, let's cover the subscribe, rate, and review basics. So again, we talk about this every week, but thank you for listening to the podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. Subscribe means you click that button in the upper corner of your podcast app. That's going to let you know when a new episode of Groundless is available for you to listen to. It'll automatically download it to your phone. You'll be able to listen to it without having to check and see when it was posted. Rate is where you give us a rating of 5 stars in that app or on the iTunes podcast store. And then also review is where you take the time to write a detailed written review telling about how awesome we are. And so we appreciate those of you who have done that. Those of you who haven't, please do. It really does actually help people find the podcast a little bit more easily. The more reviews and ratings you have, the more frequently you show up in searches, et cetera, et cetera. You know how all this influencer sort of stuff works. So please do take the time. It only takes you a couple seconds, but it makes a huge difference for the podcast for you to subscribe, rate, and review. So thank you very much for that. And now with that unpleasantness out of the way, Let's get to our episode basics. So this episode, written by, as I mentioned, originally aired January 21st, 2014, written by Dean Parisot, who we've had as a writer before, directed by Benjamin Cavell, who we've had before. Also, these guys are old school Justified guys. They've been involved in multiple episodes of the show. And so we get to our guest stars. So we have a few this week. Scott Anthony Leet, he plays Henry Granger, and he's a guy who I thought I recognized, but I looking back at it, I don't think I did actually recognize him because I don't remember him from the things that IMDb says he was in. Did he kind of ring that bell with you too? Like, hey, that guy looks familiar.
No,
not at all. Okay.
No.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. He's got one of my favorite credits. We'll talk about in a second. He's been in Angie Tribeca. Do you know what that is?
The name sounds familiar, but I have no idea.
It's the show. It's a spoof of a cop show that always looked really funny to me. I think I think Steve Carell's involved in it somehow. And who's in it? The girl from The Office is in it. The girl that Jim was dating when he went to the other office. When he moved out of town.
Quincy Jones kid?
Yeah, Quincy Jones's daughter. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The one who I always remember.
Rashida Jones.
That's it. Rashida Jones. Michael Scott looks at her and says, "Well, you have a very exotic look. Was your dad a GI?" It's so good.
He could always get away with saying stuff like that. He's like, "Oh, I love Chris Rock's rant about black people," and
that line just absolutely killed me when he said that. I like it. That character on The Office, he got really annoying over the years, but some of his lines and some of the way he delivers it are just so good.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious or something like that.
It reminds me a lot of, like, it's so perfect for Steve Carell to be delivering that. Like, it reminds me a little bit of like Alec Baldwin on 30 Rock, where he just, I mean, he's just so perfect for the role, and his delivery and timing is just impeccable. It's great.
Yeah, I'm looking up Angie Tribeca, and it looks like it was Rashida Jones, and then Wynn Duffy, Jerry Burns.
Oh, that's right. Too. I forgot Jerry Burns is on there too. That's right. Yeah, it's a comedy, from what I understand, and I've seen like sneak previews or like ads for the episodes or whatever, and it always looked kind of funny to me. It's like in the vein of like Children's Hospital or Archer, sort of, but a live action sort of thing. So it looked very funny to me.
Oh, okay. I might check that one out. So I like her. I like Rashida Jones.
Yeah, I like her too. I think she's funny. I think she's got good timing.
Yeah, and she's a writer too. I think she's written she writes like comedies and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of those people on The Office were also writers on the staff. Like the actors were also writers in the writers' room. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's see what else. Henry Granger, Scott Anthony Leet, Leet. Californication, he was in a few episodes of that. The Hangover Part 3, he was in. He played like an unnamed sort of extra character.
Oh boy.
ER, which, again, the common thread that runs through the Justified guest stars is ER, an episode in their past. But he has one of my favorite things, where he was in 3 episodes of a show as 3 different characters. And the show that he was in is a show called Silk Stalkings. Do you remember that show on the USA Network?
That show. Yeah.
So it was an anthology show, right? So like it would be like each episode was like a different story. It didn't have like carryover characters, right? Yeah. So he was in 3 different episodes of that show playing 3 different characters, but they were all unrelated storylines. It wasn't serialized. It was each episode kind of stood alone on its own. It told its own story.
It was on USA.
Mm-hmm.
Is USA? Does that still exist?
It does.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it does still exist. Okay. Yeah, they do. They still do original programming and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but yeah, I always like to mention it when they're on multiple episodes as different characters. I always get a kick out of that. You have to forget everything you've ever seen up to that point.
Yeah.
So let's see who else. Edie Gathegi or Gathegi, I don't know which. Jean-Baptiste, the Haitian, friend of the Crows. So he's been in a bunch of stuff. You might recognize. He's in For All Mankind. He's in 10 episodes of that. He's in The Blacklist, 13 episodes of that. He's also in a show that I didn't even know existed until until I was researching this podcast, The Blacklist Redemption, which is apparently some sort of Blacklist spin-off series.
Okay.
He's in that, playing the same character he played on The Blacklist. He's in a show that I really enjoyed, and I'm going out on a limb here saying this because I don't think it was particularly well received, but I really enjoyed it. Into the Badlands. Did you hear about this show? Have you seen anything with it?
No, I don't recall.
It takes place in this like weird world that's sort of like ours, but not entirely like ours, and it's all about like these barons, these sort of it's very feudalistic, and these barons have these armies that work for them, and they have alliances with other barons, and they farm this stuff. Basically, I don't want to give anything away, but like the barons fight each other, and these people are sort of like their personal armies, and he's in that show, and that show's cool. It's got a lot of cool fight choreography. And then it's got some really wild, weird fight choreography too, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style, where you're floating around or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's cool. So Into the Badlands. That's that show. X-Men First Class he was in, and then also he was in 7 episodes of House. So he played a doctor on House MD, and he was a recurring character on that show. And then finally, I was
gonna say the house. It's like it's never lupus.
It's
always
never
lupus.
It's never lupus, except when it is lupus. Yeah. I think that was kind of like the joke of one episode, is that it actually turned out to be lupus. And yeah. Sherlock Holmes Dr. House, basically the same thing, right? I mean, look, his best friend is named Wilson. He gives him all of his ideas. Oh, weird that House and Watson, Holmes and Wilson. Weird. Yep. So you know what? I'm a piggy at the trough, right? I watched every episode of that show.
You know what? I still like. I watched the clips, right? I never watched every episode of that show. It was good, but I just I like the clips, because they would always have just like the random, like the girl from what was it? Gossip Girl. Like she was like had that crush on House, the young
stalker. Okay, yes, I remember her now. Yeah,
I thought that was a good one, but I always end up watching, like, because there's like a billion of them on YouTube or whatever, so I always play one after the other.
Yeah, they pop up on TikTok from time to time. Like somebody like just sits there and films like 3 minutes of it, and then like people are like part two, because they all want to see the conclusion, and so this guy like just some account just posting random clips of House episodes getting 700,000 views. Maybe we should just record an episode of Justified and put it out as a podcast and see what happens.
We can think of the view, we can monetize it.
Exactly.
And everything is straight profit.
All profit. So our other guest star this week, Amy Smart, who plays Alison, the social worker, and you've definitely seen her before. MacGyver series, the TV show, she was in that. Shameless, she was in several episodes of Shameless. Of course, the Jason Statham movies, Crank and Crank High Voltage, which are wonderful films. If you haven't seen them, I strongly recommend them. They're very, very entertaining.
Bonkers movies.
Yes,
are good.
They just stick you on the rails, and like, it's time to go. We're going. And the movies don't slow down, because that's the whole gimmick of the movie. Like, it doesn't slow down until the end. She was also in a movie called Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland. The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher.
Remember that?
Rat Race, which is a classic, kind of, all these people racing to get this money. I think John Lovitz is in that. There's several other famous comedic actors in that. 16 episodes of Felicity. Now, I never watched Felicity, but I think you did, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I watched, like, because I like Carrie Russell.
Yeah.
But I think I watched maybe the first season or something like that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know when she was on, but she was on 16 episodes. So she was a recurring character for sure. Yeah. And of course, Road Trip, where you can see her with her shirt off. Varsity Blues. She was in Varsity Blues and Starship Troopers.
Was she the one with the whipped cream bikini? Was that her?
No, that's Allie Larder.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I can't. I don't know who she was in that movie.
I don't either. I didn't write down her character's name, but yeah, I did see that she was in Varsity Blues. So. Yeah, so that's our guest stars for the week, which means it's time for us to take a quick trip back to the week of January 21st, 2014, and see what was going on in pulp culture at the time.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
We did, and much like last week, our number one movie and our number one top 40 song are Ride Along